Look, I always enjoy talking to Terry McCrann. He's been a highly respected economic commentator for years in this country, but he writes and speaks with simplicity and clarity. He's been having a bit of a post-election break, but I thought we'd have a yarn with him tonight about where Australia is heading under new management. Terry, thank you for your time. It seems the Prime Minister has spent more time on a plane than on the ground. How do you think he's going?
Great to be with you again, Alan. It's great to be speaking to the people that rely on your leadership.
Thank you.
He's obviously engaged in the most extraordinary globetrotting that we've ever seen from a new Prime Minister. And I guess I'm in two minds about it, Alan. One, that he really should be at home providing the leadership and the direction. It's not exactly as if we're living in a nirvana right now. We've got power prices, as you appreciate, through the roof. Gas is most uncertain. The inflation rate is picking up sharply. Interest rates are going to go up, and that's going to hurt all homeowners. And there we have a Prime Minister who thinks the most important thing to do is to go to talk fests around the world. Now, that's the question mark. Offsetting that, I have to say, Alan, and it's not only the Prime Minister, a number of ministers are off their globetrotting. At least when they're away, they can't do too much mischief. So I'm sort of in two minds about how to characterise it.
Look, let's go to this new Treasurer Chalmers, who has inherited a mess when you're trying to manage $1 trillion plus of debt. I'm not certain that the Finance Minister, Katie Gallagher, is the best person for that job. What do you make of both of them?
Well, Katie Gallagher is certainly no equivalent to the Prime Ministers we've had in the past, and most particularly Peter Walsh, who became eventually the Finance Minister in the Hawke government to Paul Keating. And it really was Peter Walsh that really set in train a lot of the things in terms of restraints on government spending in the mid-80s that carried through pretty far into the 21st century. So no, all Katie Gallagher has been the mayor of a rather large city until this point. These days, as you appreciate, Alan, what mayors, local councils do, what mayors do is their own form of grandstanding. They don't get the garbage collected adequately and on time. They don't keep the streets clean. They don't get rid of graffiti. What they do is grandstand. We've just seen that most immediately with the Moreland City Council in Melbourne changing its name because there was this perceived connection with slavery. I mean,
we've got it here in Sydney. Terry, we've got it here in Sydney. There's garbage piled up everywhere in Sydney, and then they say, staff shortages. Do you sense a Whitlam element in the new Prime Minister with not a lot of interest in the economic reality or the economic detail? I mean, the failure to know the cash rate and the jobless rate at the beginning of the campaign couldn't be passed off as a memory lapse. He just didn't know. Where do you put this?
Well, exactly, Alan. It's much more than he just didn't know. He really isn't that interested. And you're exactly right. That was the prime characteristic of Gough Whitlam, which was that he really had no interest in the economy. He had really no interest in what the reality of the economic state of play was. And that was a case where, he was like the cat was away all the time, and the mice, as we know, played rampantly through the Whitlam period.
Mr. Kemlani and co had a picnic.